we're live. Hey everyone, my name's Junaid. I like to think that I'm fairly tech savvy, but sometimes even I make a purchase that leaves me scratching my head. So let's talk about why the M1 iPad was the most useless purchase I've ever made and why I'll be selling it. Now let me set the stage for you. It's launch day, the hype is real, and Apple drops the M1 iPad Air. And all your favorite YouTubers are raving about the new design, the new chip, improved performance, even center stage. The whole tech world was buzzing with excitement. It was the first time Apple had changed their iPad designs from their old big bezel iPad designs with the button on the front and gone away from their proprietary chips to the M1 chip. But naturally, like any other tech enthusiast, loosely labeled tech enthusiast in my case, I was interested and wanted to know what the hype was all about. So I ended up ordering one. I remember receiving the package. Apple's signature unboxing experience had me excited. When I took it out, it was such a sleek design and it had a stunning display. I was really happy with it. Until I wasn't. Now don't get me wrong, the M1 iPad is an absolute powerhouse. It's blazing fast. You can really tell the performance increase, the performance jump from the previous, I believe it was the A14 Bionic, to the new M1 chip. The 11-inch display is one of the best in class. It's high resolution, it's bright, it's clear. For media consumption, I would say the iPad is second to none. It gives deep blacks and contrasty colors. So whenever you're watching a TV show or movie, you can really get engaged into whatever you're watching. Here's the thing though, there's only so much you're able to do in a tablet form factor, and I found I wasn't really being able to take full advantage of the massively overkill M1 chip. In my case, for my workflows, a laptop was still much more capable, and I had a perfectly capable laptop at the time when I bought the iPad, and the laptop could handle all my tasks. And sure, the iPad, when I bought it, it could do some of the tasks my laptop could, but it just didn't feel right. It's almost as though Apple doesn't want to encroach on their MacBook laptop sales, so they almost had to handicap the iPad in some way, almost like they had to make it less capable than their MacBooks to prevent customers from buying a cheaper iPad instead. Now, for one, iPadOS isn't entirely optimized to replace everything that I do. The Files app is completely unreliable and quite frankly useless in some cases. Why can't I see a progress bar or indication of how long a file transfer is going to take? It's such an integral part of any workflow to be able to see speed and time of any transfer. Why can't I see that? If I happen to be transferring over a large 4K file, I want to be able to see how long approximately that's going to take. If it's going to take a long time, then I can get started on something else. I don't want to have to play a guessing game of how long it's going to take. Get started on something else or just sit there waiting for everything to fully transfer. It makes no sense. It's just not as straightforward as Windows or even macOS itself. Following on from that, one of the things I really wanted to be able to do on the iPad is video editing. And with DaVinci Resolve recently being introduced for iOS, I was really looking forward to taking advantage of the M1 chip, the increased power and being able to do some light video editing at least. If anything, I thought it would be a great on-the-go editing workstation. What with the M1 chip and the good color calibration of the screen, I thought I'd easily be able to do some video editing on it. But again, it feels poorly optimized and clunky. Transferring video and media to the iPad from an external SD card or SSD was such a pain that I couldn't really see the iPad as a usable editing device unless you were shooting content natively on the iPad itself, which is something I don't intend on doing. In fairness, clips from my phone, which I could airdrop straight to the iPad, they worked fine. But then camera footage, drone footage, any other codec of footage was such a pain to get into the iPad. Also, naturally, with video editing, you ideally need to plug in some external peripherals to be able to make editing a slightly easier job, like an external mouse or an external card reader, which is another problem since the iPad only has a USB-C port, so you'll be left with a dongle flapping about with things plugged into it. In all honesty, I've only been able to really use the iPad for editing pictures in Lightroom and shorts here and there on CapCut, which isn't really the ROI you want on a $600 device. Another thing is the form factor. This folio case that I have on it is just plain clunky and not adjustable at all. When it's closed, it doesn't sit flush with the top edge, and when it's open, it flops about, which isn't ideal. I've always found these types of three division cases to be next to pointless. There's also only two angles I can put it at, either flat or close to flat, or completely upright or close to completely upright, which isn't the most ergonomic. Now, that is a problem I could solve by buying the official Apple keyboard that goes alongside with their iPad, but considering I already don't see this as a worthwhile investment, it's unlikely I'll be throwing more money at the problem to try and solve it. Battery life, again something I wasn't impressed with at all. More specifically, battery retention. If I leave the iPad for any period of time, it will slowly in the background drain the battery. I don't know whether this is just the case for me, but I found I can fully charge the iPad, close all applications, leave it for a day or two and come back and it'll be left at 18%. I've completely reset, restarted, run antivirus scans, even had the battery replaced by Apple, but the issue is still there. For something as expensive, for a device as expensive as this, I do expect battery retention to be better than it is. It's inconvenient having to charge the thing every single time I want to use it. I mainly use my devices for productivity and content creation. And while the iPad can do some of those things, it can handle some light work. It's just not as efficient as using a traditional laptop. Plus, let's not forget about the price tag. That one definitely hit my wallet, especially considering how little I use the thing. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm all for buying tech that improves workflow, improves your life to some degree, or makes your life easier. But for me, in this case, it definitely felt like more of an impulse buy, being drawn into the hype at the time, than a calculated purchase, which I tend to err on the side of. And that's mainly the point I wanted to make in this video. It's really easy to get caught up in all the online excitement that can surround a new device, a new tech product. It's important to be able to take a step back and distinguish whether that product, whether that new piece of tech will provide enough of a return on investment or fill a hole that you're currently missing. In my case, I tend to, well now, definitely, I only buy things that will help me create something. On the consumption side of things, everything's taken care of. I have a laptop, I have monitors, I have a PC. Now, if I buy something, it has to help me create something. So, learn from my mistakes. Here I am stuck with one of the most expensive paperweights I've ever owned. Honestly, the only thing I use this thing for is as a monitor for my main camera. The iPad's currently there, just down below the camera. It's just mirroring the image that comes out of my camera. And some light photo editing. Like I said before, that's all I end up using it for. The whole iPad concept to me seems like trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. Square hole in a round peg? That doesn't sound right. How do I best describe my iPad experience? Clunky is the word that keeps coming to mind. It's been difficult to integrate it into any meaningful workflows, and while what you get is objectively a fantastic tablet, in this case for me it's lesson learned. Sometimes the latest and greatest tech isn't for everyone. But hey, that's just my experience. I'm sure there are people for whom this fulfills a need. I guess I'm just not one of those people. I don't entirely understand the culture of needing to have the latest and greatest tech just for the sake of having the latest and greatest tech. If it makes your life easier, or if you're a professional, for example, who can obtain it via a subsidized avenue, perhaps you can sign it off as a business expense, I completely understand. But I still use an iPhone 11 Pro Max in 2024, and I made an entire video about it. It does everything I need to perfectly fine. It hasn't skipped a beat yet. So in the case of this iPad, considering how little I use it, I'm probably going to end up selling it. Or I will end up selling it, hopefully to someone who can make more use of it. Let me know down in the comments your thoughts, whether you've ever made a purchase that you ended up regretting. That's all for this video. I hope it was useful. If it was, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.